100,000 killed? By who? We've heard this consistent attempt to blame Israel for all of these ills.
Natasha, please go ahead. Carry on. Natasha, Israel has committed a live stream genocide.
This debate is not just about Gaza. It shows how accusations of extremism can be used to silence criticism of Israel. Owen Jones pushes the discussion back to sources, numbers, and the central question, is criticizing Israel the problem, or is suppressing that criticism the real issue?
You can support openly Israel wiping Gaza from the face of the earth, and we're having no debate or discussion about how that's extreme or dangerous or hateful. But if you march opposing civilians being murdered alongside your Jewish fellow citizens, that makes you a hateful, dangerous extremist. The world's turned on its head and people don't buy it.
Natasha, you've heard the charge there, which is that you are simply trying to shut down scrutiny of Israel and what it's done in Gaza and is doing in Gaza. What is your response?
Well, he's certainly not familiar with my work and my commentary on this, and certainly perhaps as unfamiliar with the facts and the reality on the ground. What we've heard in these series of projections and ill-informed ones as the rhetoric of a propaganda machine. This is an internationally prescribed terrorist organization that is putting out fake numbers, fake casualty statistics in seeking to capture the minds of unsuspecting people like Owen Jones. And plainly, they've been extremely successful, but it doesn't take away from the reality. And these so-called genocide scholars that have been quoted, it's a shame that many of them, or in fact all of them that were listed, don't seem to appear prepared to debate these issues in public. It is public discourse. It is opportunities like this. Well, certainly not with me and colleagues who have put out contrary.
Sorry.
Well, I'd be happy to go up against any of them, but I can.
Good. Well,
no,
look,
let me continue, please. What we have heard is that manifestation of the blood libel: 100,000 killed. By whom? We've heard this consistent attempt to blame Israel for all of these ills, when in fact the reality of the situation is that it is. And those other internationally prescribed terrorist organizations, let's not forget the IRGC is now being supported on the streets of London in similar hate marches. It is these organizations that these misguided individuals are marching to protect and defend, who are responsible for the humanitarian crisis, for the killing that Owen and others so pretend to lament. And it's the pretense here that is most damaging. That is what is having this misinformation spreading effect. If we are to engage with the reality that starvation was just thrown out, we have put out report after report assessing the levels of aid that were facilitated in the Gaza Strip and proving each and every one of these tropes wrong.
Natasha, let's Owen respond to what you've said.
You made a completely outrageous claim that I'm part of the propaganda machine. There's absolutely no basis or evidence for that. And if we're going to say that anyone who says that huge numbers of people have been murdered, exterminated, killed, whatever you want to say, by the Israeli state, The Economist backed Israel's assault on Gaza. They did their own detailed estimate of the number of people killed in Gaza, and their upper limit, and these are out of date, this was a year ago now, was 110,000 people. If we are to believe my esteemed guest, The Economist magazine is now part of the propaganda machine. As regards do you know what? I rest my case on
multiple occasions.
Natasha, you objected to me interrupting you. All I would say is, Natasha, please go ahead, carry on arguing that the likes of The Economist are part of the propaganda machine, because all you are doing is discrediting your argument. And I would just add, by the way, you mentioned, for example, about these academics like Omar Bartov, the Dean's Professor of Holocaust and Genocide Studies at one of the most prestigious universities on the face of the earth. He dedicates his life, every single day of his life, studying genocides. He is one of the most preeminent scholars of the Holocaust. He knows this subject in a way you, a spokesperson for a pro-Israel lobbying organization, does not.
No, it's not.
And I'm afraid to say, you can say, by the way, I disagree with him, I don't think they're right, but you are going to have to stretch everyone's credulity to say that Israeli scholars of genocide who dedicate their lives to studying genocide are talking total arrant nonsense. You must have to accept that there must be some legitimacy in that argument. The truth is, Natasha, Israel has committed a live stream genocide. It has butchered vast numbers of people in front of the whole world. And that's why in America, for example, 2/3 of Jewish Americans think Israel's committed war crimes. 40% think it's committed genocide. Half of all Jewish Americans under 35 believe it's committed genocide. You would have to then say they're part of the Hamas propaganda machine.
Natasha, let me just briefly...
I think what we all need to be doing right now is demarcating Jewish people and the actions of the Israeli state. That is what anti-Semites want us to do. They want us to conflate Israel's crimes with the Jewish people, and it's also what people lobbying and supporting the state of Israel want us to do. Now, as regards, by the way, the figures, The Lancet, the most prestigious medical journal on the face of the earth, they estimated that by January 2025, well over a year ago, 83,000 people had been killed. They said that was a very conservative estimate, and that obviously excludes all the deaths in the year and nearly a half since. We can listen to the figures of UK lawyers for Israel, or we can listen to Israeli genocide scholars and the preeminent medical journal on earth, and we can say, well, actually, we have a democratic right in this country, which our ancestors fought for at great cost.